Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and I'm on my phone again, and today I'm going to talk about how many magic items should you give to your players. Now, somebody asked this question and I have been avoiding it. I did actually write a script for it and now I'm just going to do it. So apparently if you look on page 38 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, there are some instructions. I'm looking at it right now. 38. Now, can I just say that I don't think that this section has been fully tested. It gives you a breakdown of the different levels and sort of how many magic items and of what power they might have in that game. And really, I'm going to give you the nuts and bolts. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons 5e for a while, and I have a fairly good understanding of how the magic items affect the game. And just one magic item affects the game in a huge way. Compared to 3.5 or 4e, it's really tough to actually include magic items into the game without them having really just a massive effect. So I'm going to tell you now, it doesn't really matter about casters. Spellcasters, whether it be wizards, sorcerers, clerics, from levels 1 to 20, they don't really need magic items. Truthfully, they can get away with not having them at all, whether it be armor or weapons or anything else. You can get away with doing that and it'll be fine. Now, when it comes to something like fighters, rogues, rangers, they're a little bit different. You know, things like the paladin and the monk, their attacks essentially magical later on as they start using smites, and their fists are considered, or their unarmed attacks are considered magical attacks. So they don't really need, the paladins and the monk, they don't really need magical items at a certain point, around level 6 I think it is. Paladins a bit sooner than that. But fighters, rogues and rangers, rangers have got access to spells, so then again, but in terms of their stuff, they don't need to worry about anything like that. Damage resistant just means they're going to do less damage, and most of those classes do a lot of damage. When it comes to damage immunity, that's where it might become more difficult. It's really the only time I would say that they might require a magic weapon just to get through the damage immunity of a creature or a monster or an NPC. But that being said, there's no reason why they can't tank in the front or hold things off or hold people at bay by using the dodge action if they're a rogue. Just hold off the attacks and let the casters do the damage. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Now, if you were to include a game where there were no magic items, you would really annoy your players. And Dungeons & Dragons doesn't really feel like Dungeons & Dragons without magic items. So if you're going to use them sparingly. You don't need to use a lot. I would suggest to you, try not to use the ones out of the Dungeon Master's Guide as they are written, because the players will be looking for that sort of thing. You can depower some of those magic items, you can upgrade some of those magic items, or you can make something very special for your player's character. And I often do this. The other thing I would say to you, if you're going to use magic items, is if you're going to involve crafting, that's really going to open a can of worms. There's no reason why you can't have crafting of magic items in your game, but it can get complicated. You need to adjust everything after that. You can have lots of magic items in your campaign. There are consequences. Your players are not going to be challenged by combat, and you might even find that things that aren't combat will still be very easy for them to manage. The other thing I would state about magic items are really good if you use them in a sort of think a handful, like one hand, 5. If you get a group of 5 people, that works well. And if you want to use more, you can do that, but maybe sprinkle in some cursed items. Cursed items often become things that players really like until they find out that there are some side effects and realize they have to get rid of them. It means that your players will be scared of magic items, but they will also want them. If you do it too often, your players will be just annoyed by the possibility that they might get yet another cursed magic item. I tend to use magic items that are very specific to my player's character. and they keep them. I've done this a few times. You can level up magic items just like a player's character. You can do that every level when the player's character levels up if you wanted, but that would become quite a powerful magic item. Or you can do that at set points where you think it's appropriate. It's up to you. I think that pretty much answers it. You don't need to use a lot of magic items in your campaign. I wouldn't even bother with magic items until you get to maybe level 5. After that, you know, these sorts of things, these creatures that come up that have damage immunities, and not just damage immunities, but some very, very strong damage resistances. You might need to apply magic items there, but they can get round it. It isn't a big issue. If you found this video helpful or informative, please share, like and subscribe. Make a comment below if you have any questions about the allocation of magic items in your game. I know you can look at page 38 of the Dungeon Master's Guide and it spells it out. And yes, I'm sure they did some testing, but my experience has been you don't really need them at all. I would stick to just maybe 1 or 2 per character, and I would sprinkle them through your campaign. Until next time, keep rolling a 20-sided dice.